Hi, welcome to this week's crowdfunding conversations. Today I am interviewing Brennan and Burch about their Spacehive campaign to create this book, which was funded on the 17th of December 2020. But now I will let them introduce themselves and their project a little bit more. So Lisa, go first, really.
Hi, my name's Lisa Brennan. I'm an artist from Brennan and Burch. We did a book called The Thing About Artists. It was crowdfunded, so we're here to chat about how that went about and our experiences with that.
Hiya, I'm Majida. I'm the other half of Brennan and Burch, and I helped Lisa to get this idea realised. And the crowdfunding aspect of it was just part of our funding package, but really quite a crucial one.
That's awesome. And so if we think back to kind of a before crowdfunding time, at what point on your process of coming up with this book did you think about how to fund it, and how and why did crowdfunding come into that mix?
So we knew that it was going to need funding from the very beginning of the idea, but we didn't quite understand how much we would need. So we were trying to fund it through purely Arts Council funding, and that became quite complex. So we got some help from Havering Changing to do the first part of the book, which was the researching and finding the artists, but we then still needed to fund the printing and the marketing aspect of the campaign. And so we realised quite quickly that the amount we could get from the Arts Council wasn't going to be enough. And we heard about Havering Together and Spacehive and some local crowdfunding, and we went along to some workshops. So that was where it kind of came along as an idea. We listened to what Spacehive had to say about Havering Together.
That's cool. And so with those workshops, you got like a basic understanding of crowdfunding and everything, but how did crowdfunding feel? How did it feel going into crowdfunding versus going into Arts Council funding or the other funding routes that you may have done in the past?
It felt quite alien to us because we've never approached anything like that. So we weren't originally going to go for that, were we, Madge? We were, like Madge said, we were hoping that we could get fully funded from the Arts Council, but that wasn't to be. It was quite a difficult road. So yeah, it was quite out of our comfort zone to do it, but it was necessary to do it.
It was because it was out of our comfort zone. We were doing quite a lot of research around it because we didn't really know how to do it, which is how we came to meet you, Jess, wasn't it? Because you were doing some stuff with Echo, educating people on crowdfunding, and part of speaking to you was kind of really us working out whether we were doing the right thing. We were lucky enough that the training came along just before we were due to launch the campaign. So you did actually help us avoid a couple of classic mistakes. And I think researching it before you do it is absolutely crucial, because we really didn't know what we were doing, did we, Dave, when we started it? Not at all.
And how much of that research before you did it did you also have to do for the other funding types? Would you put it kind of in the same category as if you are writing a grant application, you should go and do all these things before you start? Or would you say this was like another level?
I mean, I think that we didn't have enough of a crowd, but we didn't have enough time. So I know one of the things you mentioned was sort of building up your crowd before you start the campaign, but we didn't have time to do that because there was this offer for match funding from the council. So Havering Together meant that Havering Council would give us up to £5,000 if we were successful with the crowdfunding. So it really felt like all or nothing the whole way through the campaign, because if we succeeded, it was going to be amazing. We were going to get, you know, help from the council, and we are going to hopefully get Arts Council money, but everything was very uncertain. So it felt like a real gamble, and something that we were sort of stepping out of where we felt stepping out of our comfort zone to do it.
That makes sense. And then during the campaign as well, like when you launched, how were you feeling before you launched versus like what was the reality when the campaign was live? Both in terms of like what you were up to before, but also, you know, emotionally.
It was a roller coaster, wasn't it, Madge? We was really nervous about it all because from the very beginning, when you sort of build up the whole, you know, how you want to come across to people that are looking at your campaign. And, you know, it was we were really worried about, you know, we were supposed to wow people, but how we were going to wow people on this page. And, you know, like, we were just like, how are we going to do this, scratching our heads. So, you know, we've got a lot of help from you, we've got a lot of help and suggestions from other people. We just tried to put it out there, help, you know, can anyone sort of, we've never done this before, we need this to look as good as possible and interesting to people that are going to just come across it, thinking that that's the crowd that we were kind of going to be pulling. Didn't realize that it wasn't really the crowd that we were going to be pulling, the strangers. It was actually friends and family, wasn't it, Madge? And people that you kind of knew or knew what you were doing. Yeah, it was nerve-wracking, I'd say.
And do you think there was any kind of particular pressure on any of the elements that you were working on? Like, you know, was it the video, was it the page, was it the trying to find those people to give money, was it the marketing, or was it just like everything?
The video was hard, so trying to put the Spacehive campaign together. Back to your previous question about, is it similar to Arts Council, like preparing the page was actually a good exercise, because when we tried to explain it on the crowdfunding page, we realized that we had to define things a little bit more. So that was quite similar to Arts Council, in that you refine the idea for any grant, and the more you write about it, the more slick your conversation becomes. But I think because we only had a short period of time, we would have loved to have had lots of content ready to go. We would have loved to have had loads of resources that we could use, but we kind of felt like it was just us kind of trying to say, here's this imaginary book that we have no examples of, but it's going to be great. And with your help, Jess, we did do some pictures, and we did a bit of things beforehand, and Spacehive definitely said, you know, put as much as you can into the gallery. So I think that helps, having lots of images of perhaps work we've done in the past.
Yeah, it just adds that extra level of like trust. And then when the campaign was live, did you manage to do other work as well, or was it very much just kind of campaign focus?
What do you think, Liz?
What, during that whole time?
Well, because it ran for from October to December in the end, did it? And how much of our time did it take up? It was quite a lot, I would say.
Loads of personal time, not just work time. Like, you know, you went to bed thinking about it, and you went to bed, I went to bed messaging people saying, you haven't forgotten, have you? We're doing this great, you know. And yeah, that it was a lot of work, and quite tiring sometimes, actually, because that's all you thought about during that period, because obviously we wanted it to work desperately. We thought the book was well worth doing. It'd been sort of we've been thinking about it for so long, and once you commit yourself, or me and Madge, once we commit ourselves, that's it, you know, we'll do it to the fullest. But that can be really stressful and, you know, like I said, time consuming. We've both got 2 children each, so, you know, like, they're like, you know, I want dinner. Well, you'll have to wait a minute, because we've got to do this campaign. Not all the time, but, you know, like, yeah, it's once you involve yourself in stuff like this, you need to do it all the way, and as good as you can do it. And I think that's what we tried, didn't we, Madge?
Yeah, but it was kind of part of a live project. So we were already, we worked with 48 artists in the end on the book, and these were urban artists from London and Essex, and we were in the middle of getting all of the information from the artists. We had selected the artists, but we were getting the information, getting the book together. We were actually working on the project as well as doing the crowdfunding. Even though we didn't have all the money to go ahead and do it, we still had to keep on with it, because we'd started the first phase. We were sort of working on it whilst we funded the rest of it, and that was quite tricky to try to keep that going and crowdfund. I think people have to expect it to be a big part of their time.
We had to correspond. That's what we spent many months corresponding with so many people on so many things, and running our business that we, you know, I'm an artist, and also we do interior projects. We were trying to keep that up as well. So, you know, yeah, it was a massive undertaking, wasn't it, really?
And then one thing that I can particularly ask you guys, compared to a lot of the other people that we interview and stuff, what was it like ending like kind of so close to Christmas. You guys ended on like the 17th of December. How was like for your own sanity and personal lives kind of planning Christmas plus crowdfunding? I mean, I always tell people like that is really the latest time that you want to end the campaign, and a lot of people are kind of like, oh, I could do it a bit later, and I'm like, but you guys tell me the truth.
It was terrible timing, and it wasn't intentional. So what had happened was we were going to finish in November, but because we were also applying for Arts Council funding, we got refused, but they said there's nothing wrong with your application, there was just too much competition. So we knew it had a good chance of going through if we tried again, but that needed a 6-week period. So we thought very early on in the campaign we'd get, oh great, you've got Arts Council money, we'd be able to say, hey, we've raised lots of money. And instead we didn't get that until the very end of the campaign. So the whole way through, the target looked almost impossible because we hadn't raised £12,000 of our target. So it looked like a very unlikely shot for people. If they were looking at our campaign, it was like, I don't think they can do it. So we didn't get any of the joy of being able to go, oh, look, we've raised this big sum of money. That actually came at the very end. And they had said, would you like to close it down before Christmas? We thought, well, let's let it run now. We've already had to ask for the extension. But actually, the last 2 weeks of the campaign, I don't think anyone pledged. We thought we might be able to overfund, and people are like, Christmas spirit, do you know what, let's help them do some of their stretch targets. No, the minute we'd hit, you funded it, I don't think anybody pledged because there was no sense of urgency after that. So they really, at that time of the year when money is so tight, were not interested in helping us overfund. So really we could have closed it when we got the Arts Council funding a few weeks before, and we would have been no better off. But we just left it, didn't we, on the off chance list.
That's super handy inside information. And so that was funded 2020. Obviously now 2021's been like nearly a year since then. You've created the book. Let's talk a bit about how this process has gone in the post-funding time. What happened once you got the funding to where we are today, really, with the project?
Go on, Madge.
When we got the money, we got the crowdfunding money and the Arts Council money in. So suddenly it was like, wow, we've actually got the money to do this project, which was, I think it was 50-50 until the 17th of December. I don't think that we thought we could do it. I think it was an absolute gamble, but we thought it was such a good project. We wanted to fund it. We had all the artists on board. We knew it was a great idea, but until the money actually and come in our account, we didn't think it would happen. So as soon as we got the money, it was like, well, we need to get the printing quotes sorted out properly now, because with printing, we've got loads of quotes along the way, but until you're ready to go, it's always going to shift. So we moved into working with a book printer, didn't we, Daisy? Do you want to talk a little bit about what it was like with her holding our hand and helping get it made?
We were very lucky to find the right person to work with, because again, it was an uncomfortable, like, right now actually it's reality. Oh my god, a book's got to come out of this. And we promised a quality book. We promised that people were going to be a bit wowed about it, and it was going to be something that you would put on your coffee table and leave it there, so when people came around, oh, what's that? We really wanted it to be a fantastic book. And with all the will in the world, we couldn't have done that without the help with the support we got from oh god, I can't remember her name now. That's terrible, isn't it? But
from Julia Armstrong, you mean?
Yeah. We wouldn't have. She did hold our hand through the whole process, and she gave such fantastic, what we couldn't do, what we couldn't achieve with the budget, what we realistically could do, and the quality and everything. It was really good. So she really helped us with that. And what we produced, we were so proud of, aren't we, in the end?
Definitely. And I think having, on the Spacehive platform, there's a facility to give project updates. So there were a couple of big updates, like it's gone out to schools and libraries, for example. There are certain things that you might want to tell people because they're important phases of the project. Definitely, I think.
That was quite good, wasn't it? It's sort of like us doing things in chunks, and as we went along, letting people know the process of how we were doing, and but that was quite helpful to us, wasn't it? It put us in a good it organised us, because we knew that we needed to let people know as the journey was unfolding. We were sort of everyone was kept updated with it, weren't they, Madge? I think that was quite
Yeah.
helpful for us.
I think we were worried about, for example, with the Christmas thing, we were really worried about the money being taken too close to Christmas, which is why we actually kept the campaign open as well, because we wanted the pledges to be collected after Christmas. So if we'd have closed it early, it would have been taken out of people's accounts like the week before Christmas. So I would
Oh
say
yeah, I remember. Yeah,
avoid
that's
the
right,
Christmas period altogether, because it's just a nightmare for everybody. But when after their pledges have been taken, we knew it was going to be quite a long period till we could deliver the book. So we had said we deliver it in spring, and with the stretching of getting things off artists and getting the print perfect, it ended up being summer. So we made sure that we kept putting out updates on the project, so people who'd been promised if they pledged £25 they get a free book, we wanted to make sure they didn't think we just taken their money and run. So where it was taking a bit longer, we made sure that we gave updates on the process so that people could see that the book was really going to happen.
And did you find that people were pretty fine with that?
Excited, actually, quite excited, weren't they? We got quite nice positive emails back saying how they couldn't wait and what amazing project it was. So it boosted us. You know, there wasn't, we didn't receive any negativity whatsoever, did we? We were like championed the whole way, which made us, you know, puffed up, you know, because sometimes you do get a bit, you know, like, oh, they're never going to do it, or you know, like, it was really positive. It was just hard bloody work, wasn't it? That's the thing. Two of us together, if you know, if we'd realized, we probably would have gone for a lot more money. I don't think we would have got it, but you know, like, we could have done with a little bit more help, really, didn't we? We undertook a massive project with just the two of us, but it helped us that people were so positive about it, I think, as well.
And a lot of people think that crowdfunding is kind of like just that money making period, but obviously, like, you kept people up to date, up to, like, you know, 6 months post crowdfunding, and obviously you had your kind of pre-crowdfunding time as well, so people can really see that it's a much larger project than just that money making couple of months or something. What other kind of top 3 tips would you give to someone that's potentially thinking of crowdfunding, either an artistic project or a book project, or, you know, those thinking about running crowdfunding for the first time?
I would think, don't just rely on crowdfunding. Look at other avenues of getting some sort of support. Definitely. What about you, Madge?
I think having some visuals ready, even if the project isn't ready to go. We had a mock-up of the cover with the ISBN on the back, and that was helpful because it looked like it might really happen. We had some pictures that Lisa was drawing along the way, because we're visual, we're so lucky. So if they are doing a creative project, thinking creatively about the images they can use, even if the product isn't there, sketches, just thinking how to make it look as real as possible for the person who might be pledging.
Yeah, I think it's a good one.
I think it helps with, like you said, people affirming, you know, like the project, and saying that, you know, that they felt that it was, you know, a really good idea, and, you know, from someone else's point of view, that I think that's quite a good tool to have, that you've got testimonies, even if the book's not, you know, that the stuff's not done, or it's not, you know, but at the beginning there's people that believe in you, and they'll, you know, that, I think that helped us. Do you, Matt?
Yeah, because what Lisa's talking about, we had partners and we got quotes from them, and we made some little image cards which we could use to sort of validate the project. And I think, yeah, the process of preparing those bits of validation for the crowdfunding helped us with other things as well, didn't it?
That's cool. And then, do you have any more projects in the pipeline that you're working on that crowdfunding could work for? Or are you thinking, really need to get out from crowdfunding now?
What are you saying, Les? Could you crowdfund the next one?
I think that it may be in our future again, but it's not an easy road to take. So, and the fact that we're armed with, we know the pitfalls, and you know, and the good things about it, and we kind of know, you know, what we should and shouldn't be doing. that will lead us that we probably won't say no to it in the future. But it's just so hard because, like I said, we know we've still got to go for other funding. We know that we've still got to, like I've said, we're not good at cap in hand stuff. We've got a really high embarrassment sort of level where we're like, we've asked everybody about this first book. We're going to do another book with looked after children, a similar book with art at the end of it, but we're going to do bigger projects, and we're going to work with children. Is it 13 to 24-year-olds?
I think, yeah, we that sort of range. We might go slightly older, maybe, so that they're more young adults potentially. We're sort of working out what age range is going to work for best, but it'd be people who might not consider art is for them, particularly if they are not necessarily supported at home or are just busy dealing with the problems that life is throwing at them, and wanting to make creativity something that they can enjoy, and getting the artists from the first book to come in, do workshops, and then perhaps even they get a mini portfolio of work, and some of that work gets featured in the next book. So it's easy to understand now we've got the first product, so we can prove that we can produce a book. But it's a harder sell in that will need support for the children and mentoring, and it will need more money. So crowdfunding probably would be, from our experience last time, something best done at the end of that. So if we've secured some money from the council, perhaps some money from the Arts Council, if we can reflect, we've already raised 80% or 90%, and we just need that last little bit. If we were able to get all of the other funding first, and then we're only asking for the last bit with crowdfunding, I think that's easier for people to understand. Because I think people would look at we need practically 30 grand and go, well, you're never going to raise that. But whereas if they could see that we've got the backing and we've got the partners, we've got the people lined up, I think I'd do it at the last phase without the terror of what if we don't get the big funds and we don't get the crowdfunding all at once. It was incredibly stressful. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, and sounds like a really cool book. When you're saying it, I'm thinking, I don't know whether you know the organization Drive Forward Foundation, but they work with care leavers, so young people that have left the care system, and I have helped them run crowdfunding campaigns for their charity. So I mean, by all means, work with them, and then you've got two organizations that have run crowdfunding campaigns before. You can come together as one like super campaign.
Oh wow. Yeah, that'd be cool. And it's about talking to everyone, isn't it, about the process and getting help and advice, which is what we did with you. We a few times we panicked, didn't we, during the campaign, and I said, oh my god, just what we had to do. And you were kind enough to support us because you had helped us out. You were kind enough to keep, we booked on some of the clinics, and we had some advice sessions. And I think without that valuable feedback from someone who understood the process, I think we might not have been successful, and we certainly wouldn't have known what we were doing. If we were successful, it would have been probably more luck. Yeah. And
then you'd be like, oh, I don't know if we can run a second one because that was just a fluke.
Yeah, we don't know how we did it. No, we know how we did it. It was hard work and speaking to, as Lisa said, getting out there and talking to everyone.
That's awesome. I think these are super valuable insights for anyone going to run a crowdfunding campaign, and I love how honest you've been in terms of, the pros and the cons. At the bottom underneath this video, I'll link people to wherever you want them to go, really. So where would you like people to go? Is it social media, website, etc.?
Yeah, on our website, we've got a section for the thing about artists, or they can search for the thing about artists on Instagram and Facebook as well. And that will show how the first campaign has developed.
Awesome. And to keep up to date with what's going on in the future, do you have a mailing list or anything?
Yeah, we do. On our website, they can join our mailing list if they'd like to hear more about projects like this as well. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for coming to chat on this Friday morning, and have a wonderful weekend. And I'll speak to you soon.